Hello again, everyone. It's Monday, and we are joined by some more people from the travel industry to talk to us in the latest of our remote video calls. So today you'll see I'm joined by Mark Swords, who's from Swords Travel, which is one shop in the High Street in Wimbledon. I'm joined by Helen Furlong, who is a Mid-Counties personal travel agent. So Helen is a home worker. And I'm joined by Alex Sirimiagos, who is from Travel Up, so an online travel agent, an OTA. And we thought we'd bring together three agents working in different channels just to see how you guys are coping with this really unprecedented situation that we find ourselves in due to the coronavirus outbreak. But I have to say the reason we are here really is that when we did our one of our last interviews last week with some of the cruise line bosses, we had Jet2, we had Celebrity, and we had Miles Morgan. Helen, she tweeted me and said, well, this is great, really interesting to hear from the bosses, but what about getting some frontline agents on? So Helen, because you started this all off, we're delighted to have you here. I genuinely think it was a good idea, so thank you for that. But Helen, let's start with you. What's the experience been like for you as a home worker trying to cope with this and with all your clients?
Well, we came back from actually skiing in Italy ourselves for a personal holiday on the 20th of February. So we'd seen it from an overseas, we'd really seen it in Milan, and came back thinking there's trouble ahead here. And we walked straight back into it really, with Italy's northern ski areas being one of the first to sort of be affected. So we've been at this a month already, where I think others have come into it a little later in the game. Maybe Cruise was quite early into it. So at the beginning, we thought it might be just minimal, and then within a few days, I started to realise quite quickly this was going to go quite big.
Okay, all right. And so did you start contacting your clients? Are you selling a lot of ski holidays?
Yeah, we do a lot of ski. In fact, I do a lot of Italy, just because I love Italy. But we do a lot of ski. About 60% of our business is ski. So we kind of got into that quite early, having just come back from it. And there were a lot of school groups where we were. So really, the ski kicked it off for me for a real mainline. And as soon as we got back, people started calling us for the following weekend. Is our holiday all right to Italy? Because we had quite a big departure, and that really was the start of it. And after that, it started to go like a pack of cards.
Right. Okay.
Being the first really affected, I think, in that way.
Okay. All right. Let's find out about the other guys, and then we'll come back to you. Mark, what's it been like with a high street shop? Presumably, you've had to now close that down, but did you keep it open for as long as possible?
Yeah, I think we tried to, I suppose, show a bit of solidarity and keep it open as long as possible. But then there became a point where there was just nobody in the streets in Wimbledon, and clients weren't coming in anyway. And also we'd sent our staff home to work as well, because we just thought at the end of the day, it needs to be about staff safety, customer safety, but also maybe taking a bit of a lead with it and actually going to work from home, because there was nothing preventing us working from home anyway. So we'd already worked from home in the past, and we were like, let's get that business set up so that we can literally move straight from office to home and have that set up straight away. But I think very similar to what Helen was saying, originally, I think we sort of downplayed it a little bit. I think people were very conscious of it in the media, especially throughout Asia. But then when it came to places like Italy being affected, from a ski point of view, we were very similar to Helen as well. We've got a lot of ski bookings going to France and Italy. And I think it really hit us when it got to that peak weekend where all the ski departments were getting cancelled, especially throughout France. And we were all thinking, fingers crossed, we can just get through these next couple of weeks. But unfortunately, obviously, everything got cancelled. So then, yeah, the same. And you can't believe how much it's advanced in the space of a few weeks, that we've gone from thinking this is just something, this is in Asia and the Far East, to actually being everywhere around the world now. So yeah, it's been quite.
So presumably you were switch selling people away from Asia, because, it wasn't that long ago, was it? Because obviously everything else was still open and you were still saying, okay, there's other places to go to. And then of course the whole world really became off limits. So that must have been, had you already moved some people that you then had to move again, presumably?
Yeah, totally. I mean, we'd gone through every destination and making sure that we avoided destinations. But then by the time we got to the end and everywhere was just closing one by one, we just said, look, there's no point in rebooking anybody at the moment. Yeah. Let's just wait for the next 6 weeks and just see what happens and then come up with a proper plan, because you're just creating more admin for yourself, aren't you, to have to move people or have to refund.
Yeah.
Or so we just said, look, let's leave any new bookings for now. Let's just concentrate on the clients we've got and then work from there.
Okay, all right. Well, I want to come back to all of you, but let's bring Alex in, sitting quietly there. Alex, tell us, now you've got a role at Travel Up, but you've been doing something very different during the crisis, haven't you? Just explain what you've been up to.
That's right. So I'm head of revenue management at Travel Up, but I was quite early on drafted into to help the guys out on the front line. I mean, initially this was on our radar to some extent when the epidemic was evolving in China. So we were very much concerned about the situation there, but we were putting measures in place to counter that. But again, it's very similar to Mark and Helen's experience of not necessarily playing it down, but we thought that the crisis would be kept in that sort of area of Asia. So we were diverting people to elsewhere in the world. But yeah, I mean, the way it developed into a pandemic so quickly in the space of a few weeks was you can't really plan for that. I mean, you can plan in terms of putting processes and operations in place, but for the sheer amount of volume of changes and amendments and cancellation that were coming through, that's something that everyone, I think, is struggling with at the moment.
So presumably you and a few others were drafted in to support the customer service team, I guess, doing all those, as you say, amendments and rebookings and dealing with.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, helping out in terms of the price of the process, how the inquiries were coming in, trying to form a standardised way of reporting on what is coming in and prioritising in travel date order and all those kind of things, really.
Okay, so let's talk about sort of the customer reaction. I mean, I'm guessing this, but you may correct me, but obviously with Helen, you've got a database of clients you know really well. And I think, Mark, you'll have something very similar because you're very much in the community in Wimbledon, and maybe with you, Alex, because you're an OTA and you don't perhaps know all your clients so well. I'd just be interested to know what the reaction has been like when you've been talking to clients. Let's start with Helen.
Well, I've been doing this now for 13 years from home, so I've got a big repeat customer base. So a lot of our customers have been booking us for many, many years. So we've had great response from them. In fact, their first response was, "Are you okay? Is your business going to be okay?" So the concern has been unbelievable. They very much waited for us to come to them with the responses from the tour operators. That's been the biggest challenge because they've been different. They've been offering different things, and that's the challenge we'll probably talk about shortly.
Yeah.
But everybody's been really patient and really good. And I think the way we've talked to the customers, because of us knowing them so well, we've talked to them about their health, about the priorities of the situation, about the unprecedented nature of the situation, and also to reassure them that we are here. We're sitting here at the end of the phone, the end of the mobile, and we've been there 24/7, really, as we always are. Even at midnight on the nights before they were due to travel to France, when President Macron closed France, we were at 11 o'clock at night calling the customers to say, no, stop going to the airport now. So it was really that personal, we are personal travel agents, but at the moment, we really are.
Okay, well done. Brilliant. What about you, Mark? That's a similar sort of situation?
Yeah. Absolutely. I'd say it's very similar. I mean, the difference with us, I would say, is slightly different is there's 4 of us in the team. So we've all got our own clients. So it's very different when you're speaking to somebody else's client and managing their customer because they don't necessarily have that relationship with you. Customers have been really good. They've really understood the situation. Don't get me wrong, the people are there that are panicking, that are worried and worried how they're financially protected, but also worrying about their own situations, which I totally understand. At the end of the day, nobody is in a situation really at the moment where they want to be giving money away. If anything, they want to try and recoup that money. So I think clients are very much like, I want to get cancelled, I want to get my money back, I want to make sure that me and my family are secured. But we've tried to go along the line of, look, this is the situation, these are the options we can do at the moment, and really push that rebooking process just to get people rebooked as quickly as possible, but also being quite proactive with it. So we've actually gone out to all our departures right through to the end of May and giving them the option to look at amending, tell them what the options are. So at least, I think if you go to customers in advance, then at least you've got that option to actually get some kind of movement. Whereas if you leave it right till the cancellation date, we've had some issues saying, right, I want a refund straight away. So
of your forward bookings, what proportion would you say have cancelled and outright, and what proportion would you say you've managed to get onto a rebooking?
We've only had 2 cancellations out of all of our bookings, which are forward bookings, which
wow.
are really, we've managed to just get them rebooked and just talk about the options. And I suppose as soon as you mention the word refund to somebody, if that's an option, they're going to take it straight away. But also, we've obviously passed on the information that we've been getting from the tour operators that actually we're not getting refunds. And until we as an agent get that refund, we can't pass it on to a client. So right. I think there's some understanding from a customer point of view. If they see it as swords travel, they don't see it as it's gone to the tour operator. They just see you as a business that's taken their money. So we've tried to also explain the link between tour operators and agents to a client, to the way it works. And I think once you've explained it and you've given that calm understanding of what the situation is, then hopefully we'll continue to work that way. But I think we are going to get cancellations just like anybody.
Yeah, you will, I'm sure. Okay, Alex, how's your experience been in terms of customers and whether it's cancellations or refunds? Or books?
As Mark said, I think all customers, if they are faced with the option of a full refund or an amendment, because of the uncertainty, everyone's going to opt for the refund. But we're seeing across the supply chain, not all suppliers are willing to offer that refund at the moment. So there is a lot of uncertainty there, which is then transferred across to the...
Has that caused any tension though? I mean, it's difficult for you being in the middle. I mean, it could be a question to anybody really, but Mark mentioned it, you have as well, that, you know, you've got some suppliers who aren't offering the refund, and yet you must have some customers going, well, if you've got people who have got financial concerns themselves, perhaps they've lost their jobs, or, you know, as you say, they would like the money back if they really can, but clearly that's not what the tour operators want. It's not what you guys want. So has it caused any tension at any point?
I think that's the biggest tension from my point of view as an agent, has been the different responses from different operators for different types of pay. So some have had a couple of operators straight away with a refund. They've put it in writing. The minute an operator puts it in writing, they feel we have the obligation to pass that on direct to the customer. So we've not had an opportunity to even think about rebooking, but there are incentives in place to rebook. So that's what we're working on at the moment. But then when you move into more complex, say a ski holiday is a typical package, very typical. You've got untypical within that. You've got unused ski packs that are maybe refundable, and so there's still complex issues within that. But when you get to very complex holidays, multi-centre, cruise, stay, US, scheduled flights, that's where we're having the biggest challenges. Okay, all right. Would you say the same, Mark?
Yeah, I think the tension really is that you can't really give your client a clear, straight answer. There's no guidelines coming out to say, look, the package travel regulations are being changed. We're still sort of up in arms, and the government aren't really making a decision as to exactly what's going to happen. I think all we want is some clear clarity and showing that we're backed by absolute other government to say, look, this is the process at the moment. And as soon as customers know that that's legal and it's protected, so for example, if people are getting credit notes and that money's safe, then that's a different scenario, because you can reassure customers that, but also you can reassure that everybody across the board is doing that. Whereas if you're a bit in and out with your answer and you're not quite sure, it does make you look like you don't know what you're talking about. So I think that's the challenge at the moment. People are a bit unsure of what you're saying.
Yeah, and that must be a horrible position to be in, I imagine, especially when you've built your business on trust and customer service.
Yeah, absolutely, because they look to you as giving the advice and giving the honest, open advice. And we've said to everybody, look, we'll be completely honest and open with you, and we'll tell you what the tour operator is telling us, we'll tell you what the FCO advice is, but we can only give you the information that we've got. And customers do sort of take that on board, I think, but there still needs to be some clarity around what is going to happen with tour operators that aren't offering refunds and whether that credit will be protected. Well,
we're obviously waiting and hoping we'll get some kind of clarity this week, so let's hope that comes. Alex, has that been a similar issue for you, this sort of not knowing what to say and not being able to speak with complete confidence and authority because of the differences that different operators are doing different things and the lack of sort of confirmation from the government?
Yes, exactly right. I mean, a lot of our partners and suppliers have been very, very, very helpful throughout this period. But of course, we do need the government to step in and provide some clarity to the situation, whether that is going to be an extension, or whether the government is going to take the hit for the time being and then see some sort of repayment option later on further down the line.
So presumably all of you have had to give out these refund credit notes, and what have you said as you've given them out then? I mean, have the customers said, does this absolutely guarantee my money? You know, is my money is it safe? Is it bonded, or do they just accept them? Or what have you said as you've given them out, when you know currently there's no official kind of underwriting of those notes?
I mean, one of the talks that we use, they're ABTA protected, they're an ABTA operator. So we've obviously given them the link to the ABTA website showing the coronavirus outbreak information. And on there at the moment, it does say that credit notes are protected to the 31st of July. Now, if that's correct, I don't know, but at least we're giving the customer the source of that information. And I don't want to give advice to anybody that's incorrect, but obviously what we can do is show them information that ABTA have got from the government, which is the latest advice. And I suppose that's all you can really do.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. It's very tricky. What about Mark, you mentioned there that you've got 4 of you, and Alex, you have to remind me how many people work at Travel Up, but of course this is not just about customers, it's about your own businesses and how you've coped with your staff and things. How have they dealt with this? How have you dealt with your teams? Helen, you've been saying we, but do you work alone, or do you?
No,
my
husband.
Your husband, I thought so. Okay.
We work together. So, we're a one family travel company, which is a challenge.
I think we're all finding that at home at the minute. Don't worry.
Yeah, but we work at home all the time. So
yeah,
part of it is not jeopardizing our marriage, because we are used to working at home 24/7.
Oh, well, that's one thing. I'm pleased for you for that. But the other 2 who've got staff to consider, how's that been in terms of dealing with the sort of the business side of things? If we just move away from the customers for a minute.
Yes, I mean, we Travel Up have offices in Reading, but also overseas as well. So, and of course, in these times, we're not only having to make changes on to our working life, but everyone is also very concerned about their own health and safety of our loved ones, as well as restrictions to all our personal lives. But there's been supreme effort by everyone at Travel Up to make the remote working across all departments possible. So. And it's not just dealing with the operational issues of remote working, but at the same time having to stay very close to all our customers and dealing with the enormous volume of inquiries coming through.
And do you think you've, as a small or as medium-sized small businesses, all of you really, do you think you've had enough support from the government in terms of being business owners? Mark, do you want to start?
I would say that, I mean, I think the information that comes out when Rishi was announcing all the information on the news, it sounded really positive and really, really good top line information. And as soon as you get into the detail, it's a lot more complex than I think people realise. I mean, for example, 2 of our members of staff, we had to put on unpaid leave, unfortunately, straight away, because we looked at it as, obviously we're a business and we want to protect the business so that there are roles there for them outside of this, and for us as well, to be honest with you. So we looked at it and made that decision straight away. But then when we've looked into the furloughing staff, we've now furloughed both members of our team, and my husband Stuart as well, so he's been furloughed. So it's literally me running the business at the moment, and the main reason is so that we can protect all our revenue and obviously work on the lowest possible cost to make sure that we get through this. But I think what they don't say when they're talking about the furloughing staff is that you've actually got to pay them staff still, and then you've got to then claim that back from HMRC. So you really don't know how long along the line this is going to come. So
if you have to pay them the full 80% of their salary, then you have to claim that back.
Yeah, exactly.
And which is still a problem in businesses with small cash flow, and that's the issue for businesses in travel.
I think cash flow, and that's it. The cash flow is the main issue at the moment. So we automatically extended our overdraft with HSBC the day that this happened, because we thought if we're going to do it, we need to get it extended now. So we've got it for the next month to cover us. And I'd put out last week, they charged us £220 just to extend the overdraft for an administration fee. Then they charged us personal guarantor fees and made us personally guarantee this against us, not leaving the business. So immediately there's automatic that stress that you put in a debt on yourself and not onto the business. But then you think, well, how long is this going to last? Because most businesses are going to have overheads and everything for the next 3 months anyway. But I think the challenge there is they wanted to pay the 80% up front. We've now got to take a further loan to then make sure that we can pay our staff through that time until we get this money back from HMRC.
And when do you think you'll get them? When do you think, do they give an indication of when you'd get that back?
We spoke to my accountant. They say it's May, but they don't know that for definite. I mean, the problem, if you look at the self-employed, they're not getting any payments until June. And I think all these things could be a lot later down the line than we think, because they've still got to get these systems and procedures set up at the moment. I mean, one good thing that has happened is our local council, when this all happened, we contacted Merton Council straight away. We've got a really good relationship with the council, with our local MP, so we emailed asking about the grants, and we are entitled to a grant of £10,000, which is fantastic. And literally, we got an email over the weekend to say that we are eligible for this grant, and we should hear something this week. So hopefully that comes in quicker, just to help.
Tide you over, yeah. Oh my goodness, wow. It's really interesting, isn't it? As you say, you hear the top line stuff, but then obviously there's quite a lot of hoops to jump through in order to benefit from the. I mean, the packages do sound fairly generous, but it's complicated. Helen, you're presumably self-employed, so do you benefit from
we're just two directors, and like most people that are on our sort of level of income, pay a small wage plus dividend. We've got a child in school. She's 19 last year at school, so we've got a dependent child as well. So all our eggs are in one basket, and I'm in the process, because of the peak we had of ski bookings. Every refund we give, we have them to give back the commission, obviously, for the last 2 months. So I don't feel like we're starting from now, this week. I feel like we're back in January.
Yeah.
We haven't lost 2 months' pay, that we're in the process of giving it back, our commissions. So yeah, we're in a chat, and we've been doing it for quite a long time, and we're older, so you know, I've got a huge mortgage, but we're only talking a couple of months before we'll start really being in trouble.
Okay, yeah, I'm sure. I'm sorry to hear that, but I think many people will be in a similar situation, Helen. Alex, what's it like for you? Have you been able to take advantage of any of these support packages from the government?
Yes, we are considering the help and the schemes that the government are offering. But as Mark was saying, these we are yet to see what these look like exactly and how far they can actually aid businesses. I mean, and this is exactly when we need governments to step in and look after the welfare of all the citizens and the businesses, and ensure that the economy continues to work as it should.
Okay, all right. So then, go on. Sorry, Helen, please.
I was just saying, and we're quite lucky as well, because we're part of Mid Counties, which is a large cooperative. It's not just a travel business, and they always have been really good. They do work as a cooperative in an ethical way and in a practical way. So they're working on support packages there just to see us through, helping commissions, etc. So I think there are going to be some solutions from our point of view. And the information that's been coming down has been good and centralised for us. We've got some good, solid information.
Okay, well that's good. That's encouraging. I'm glad you're getting some support there. What about you, Mark? You belong to a consortium. Have you had any help from the people you work with?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're part of Travel Network Group, and from day one, to be honest with you, the guys have constantly supported us. They're open 7 days a week at the moment, so we're speaking to them. I got a call from Steph from our consortium on Friday, and we just had a chat really, and it's just nice to have a chat to hear somebody else's view on it. And we're stressing thinking about the next 6 months and just going way ahead of where we should be. And Steph just said to me, look, have a think about it. Realistically, you can only control what's within the next couple of months, so just try and not think too far ahead. And that's really stuck with me, because I do think sometimes I'm definitely a person that does think further ahead, and I don't want to be thinking too much, because otherwise you're just going to get yourself into a panic and start worrying about, well, what do I do in 4 months' time when the cash runs out?
Yes. Well, actually, that was going to be one of my questions, because of course it is an immediate emergency for all of you, I'm sure, and you have to get through that. But then I guess at some point you've got to hope that restrictions on travel will be lifted, and that you will be able to sell your customers to all these fantastic destinations again. So, and I know all of you at some point have talked about planning. I mean, are you just literally living day to day and trying to get through that, or are you thinking ahead at all in terms of your messaging or how you're continuing to communicate with your customers? Is there any sort of future looking at all, or are you just literally in the middle of it?
Well, I think from our point of view, we're dealing with the imminent crisis, getting people home, helping people in the next 2 months, so March, April, we're into May now, looking at May bookings, changing May and June, and helping those customers. But we're starting to look ahead, particularly tail end of the year, particularly for ski. And there's still some interest out there for ski. We don't know what form it's going to be taken and what sort of prices are going to be looking like when we come out of this, because obviously we've got ski resorts and holiday resorts, even from Mallorca to St. Anton, are going to have resort-based problems with hoteliers, etc. So that's but you know, I think people will want something to look forward to, and people will travel, but it might be a more restrictive market for them.
Yeah, so it's hard to, you can't really push too much yet, but you're there, and I guess if people are ready. What about you, Alex?
Yes, I mean, this crisis will end, but all companies will have to think hard and prepare themselves for how they want to emerge from it. I don't think that anyone can be absolutely certain that customers will come flooding back to book immediately. So therefore, I think companies need to be agile and dynamic as possible in order to be able to respond to these changes in the market.
But you're not I mean, I know when we had Jet2 on last week, they were already planning their Back with a Bang campaign. I don't know when they're going to instigate that, because perhaps, you know, clearly we're not ready yet, but are you getting stuff ready now for when the time comes?
Yes, absolutely. And in parallel to managing the crisis, we are thinking about how we're going to emerge and what process we're going to put in place to be stronger, smarter, and more able to compete.
Yeah, okay. I guess that is perhaps one slight benefit of all this. I guess we will all become more efficient, I guess, and used to working in different ways. Anything for you, Mark? Although you're on your own, you just, you know, the other three are furloughed, as you say. So I guess you're one-man band, so trying to plan, it's quite difficult.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely, from a marketing perspective, we're continuing our marketing as much as we can, but I think it's just about being subtle in these times. It's not about saying to people, look, let's get you rebooked. People don't want to be sold to, which is completely understandable.
Yeah.
We've gone out there with inspirational emails, we're talking to clients, and we're just trying to inspire people at the moment. And then when we get to that stage where we think there's a possibility that they can travel again, then we'll start promoting new stuff and ideas. But we've been working really closely with our suppliers to get involved, to do webinars, to do Facebook Lives, and just to really educate people on what they can do, so that when the time comes, they'll be thinking of us to come back to. We're really lucky. We've got a social media partner that does all our social media and works with us. And when they found out that obviously this was going on, we immediately said, look, it's the first thing we've got to cut. When it comes down to marketing, it's a cost that we don't essentially need. And they were amazing. They said, look, Mark, we want to work with you guys. We'll continue to support you over the next few months until you get back on your feet. So they're still continuing to do all our social media. They're helping us. They're doing marketing stuff. So I think just trying to, like you say, I think just keep it subtle at the moment, but then longer term, we know that people will come back, and obviously we need to go.
Great advice. Well, look, we're coming very close to the end of our time, but I guess just to go round the three of you, what would be, you know, what's the one thing that's still keeping you awake at night, or what you know, what would you need in order to make sure, you know, I mean, Helen was saying in another couple of months, you know, you could really be in trouble. So what do you need to happen, whether it's from the government, from suppliers, from Travel Weekly, what would help you to enable you to get through this very tricky period and come out the other side?
For me, it would be consistency of the advice coming down from the tour operators. I know you can't have one size fits all, but there should be quite a good size that fits most. You know, what is a package and what are we going to be doing about it? So I think that guidance has been wishy-washy.
It's been wishy-washy, and you need that firmed up.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Helen. Alex, what would be good for you?
Yes, exactly right. Some clarity and standardization across all suppliers in the industry. The government to provide some reassurance and some real clarity. And yeah.
Okay, well, hopefully we will get that, as I say, this week. We're all hoping and keeping our fingers crossed. Mark, anything that would really help you to get through this period?
I think exactly the same as these guys were saying. We need advice that's definitely got the clarity, but also for the government to make it easy for businesses to survive this. So to make sure that they're giving the cash that they need, but also to make sure that's accessible and not just shown and made out that we're actually getting this information. And for example, the coronavirus business interruption loan, that needs to be live. I made a call on Friday and I've been told it's a 2-week callback just to start the application process. And to make sure that businesses get this loan, it's 80% government backed, so we should be entitled to it. But there are businesses out there that are being refused these loans. So I don't understand why. So I suppose it's making sure that we get the government information to back all businesses, not just small, but all businesses throughout this, to make sure we get through this period.
Yeah, and I appreciate there's going to be a lot of people applying for these things, and I'm sure it's hard because there's going to be a backlog of inquiries. But 2 weeks could be make or break for some businesses if they've got to wait that long, presumably.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the government to recognise the specifics of the travel industry. I mean, it's not like some shops, for example, where everyone can go on furlough. We're currently dealing with about 37,000 inquiries for customers that want to cancel, that want to amend their holidays.
So how many you're dealing with? My goodness.
Yeah.
Wow. So you can't furlough staff because they need to be working to deal with this backlog of inquiries.
Exactly right. So the government needs to recognise, I think, the specifics of travel companies like this.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, listen. Sorry, Helen, did you want to add something?
Yeah, I was just going to say the worst thing that could happen is if we all come through this and we all survive this and then we're in the same position in the future. I think things need to be tightened up for the future in the way that we work.
In terms of sort of regulation and...
In terms of regulation, in terms of the way that things have always been done this way, or we need to relook at the whole industry, because it would be horrendous to come through this and then we have another...
Yes, I think everyone has said that the system that the travel industry currently operates on was not set up to deal with something like this. And you're saying that clearly now we've gone through it, we need to tighten everything up to make sure if something like this happens again, we're in a different position.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Sure.
All right. Well, listen, I can't. We are at the end of our time. Thank you so much for sparing the time. I can only imagine how busy you all are just dealing with all of this, this difficult situation that we're all in. Thank you for being here and smiling and being positive. I really hope that you get all the support that you need, and from everybody that we've talked about. And if there's anything more that we can do, then please let us know. But for now, thank you so much to Mark, to Alex, and to Helen. Thank you very much. See you soon.